All right, guys, welcome to the Red Sauce Podcast with Papa Joe. I know Papa Joe usually starts with his intro, but we figured we should tell you guys where we've been for the last 3 months almost. So we kind of had a rough summer around here. Back on June 26th, Larry Lagatuda from Enrico Biscotti unfortunately passed away at the age of 65. And for anybody that knows us, you know how big of an impact he's had on Katie and I, especially, but just on our whole family. I mean, he was really a part of the family. His wife and kids are always going to be a part of our family. And we just had a really rough summer grieving the loss of him. For anybody that didn't know him, he was for not being a famous person in Pittsburgh, he was pretty well known and just loved by everybody he met. He was one of those guys that the second you met him, he made you feel like the most important person in the room, made you feel like you were a part of his family. And, he's the reason, honestly, that we're all sitting here today. He helped us open our restaurant. He helped us close our restaurant. And actually on the last night of business at the restaurant, he was the last person that walked in at 10:30 at night. And he said, "You didn't think I'd miss this, did you?" And Katie and I looked at each other and we said, "We hoped you wouldn't." And as much as we held it together that whole day, the second Larry walked in, we started crying just because he just meant so much to us as a person. And we're just really going to miss him. So we appreciate you guys giving us time to grieve. And, we'll get back to the bi-weekly drops on the podcasts. If you haven't listened to the episode that Larry was on, it was back in October. We're really thankful that we got the chance to do that with him because now, we have something to look back on and smile and just appreciate the person that he was. And, he was like a brother to my dad. And we just, we want to send our condolences out again to his wife, Maureen, his daughter, Madeline, and his sons, Sam and Miles. And we're just keeping them in our hearts and just making sure that we're always there for them. So thank you, Larry, for everything you've done for us personally. And we love you. We're going to miss you, but we're going to keep Larry with us, and we'll continue to tell stories about him and keep him alive through us. So does anybody have anything to add?
No, but I'm about to cry.
Yeah. So he's just obviously made a huge impact on us. So Larry O, as he's more affectionately known to us, thank you for everything. And
we'll tell him why he's Larry O.
When our nephew Jimmy was about, 3 or 4, we took him there for lunch one day, and we told Larry what his name was. So every time Larry would walk in, he'd look at Jimmy and go, "Jimmy!" And Jimmy goes, "Larry O!" And so it just became a thing, and now half the people we know call him Larry O. And Jimmy, always called him that. Marissa called him that. They'd always ask to go to Larry O's restaurant for lunch. And, Larry was just larger than life. He loved our family. We loved his. And, it's been really cool to hear through his family, like, how much he loved ours and vice versa. His kids told us at his funeral, they said, listen, he always talked about his Tellerico girls and how much he loved you guys. So for him to be like a second dad to us, and we know he loved us just as much as we loved him. We didn't do the limoncello, but we'll cheers to him.
Telerio.
Cheers. And now I will let Papa Joe do his thing.
Yeah, we should have done the limoncello because limoncello has a lot to do with how we really got so close to Larry in the first place. We met him. Well, we met him in the store, but we got to know him better when the three of us, Katie, Beth, and I, went to his bread class, and we liked it so much, and it was just such an entertaining thing. This guy could talk forever, and just, good information, entertaining. The best Italian brunch you'd ever want to eat was there. So we liked it so much that we brought our family and friends from Erie. And the second time we came, Katie brought some limoncello that we had made, and he just loved it to the point where the next time I saw him on the street in the Strip, he said, "Hey, is that scalable? Meaning can you make it in any amount?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure." But the next thing you know, first of all, the girls were helping him bottle wine 3 days after that second class. And soon after that, we had a limoncello party. And we had made limoncello with him and Maureen, and a few other friends and relatives ever since. We're going to miss that, but we're still going to be making it with Maureen and the kids.
And we just have Sunday dinners with them a lot, you know, either at Enrico's or at Piazza Tellerico, and just, you know, everybody would bring a dish, and it was just kind of like, you know, kind of like what we grew up on. And people don't do that anymore, and I think that's a shame that a lot of people don't do Sunday dinners like they used to. So it was always a cool thing that we kind of kept that tradition alive and brought us all together. As he was more than a boss to us, you know, he was a lot to us.
He was like another dad.
Yeah.
He was us. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you know, when I used to talk to him, he'd always look at me and say, you know, we're the same guy. And I'd say, yeah, but we kind of were, but kind of weren't. I mean, he was me times 20. He was the guy I want to be, but I'm just not quite outgoing enough to be that guy. And he just loved people, and more than I do, I think. But I mean, I love people, but I'm not vocal about it. He was vocal about it.
Yeah.
If a straight guy could have a male soulmate, he was my soulmate.
Well, you know, the cool thing too is and Maureen and I have talked about this, like, he was one of the best storytellers too.
Oh, yeah.
He
I mean,
was.
you would talk to him about something that you wouldn't think he would ever care about or whatever, and he would have a story for it.
Yeah.
One day we were having a Sunday dinner at the cafe, at his cafe, and everybody was inside. Me and him were sitting out, you know, right outside the door to his apartment there, smoking cigars, drinking wine. And I told him I was going to a Pitt basketball game at Virginia at John Paul Jones Arena. And he goes, oh, I love John Paul Jones. And I'm like, you do? He goes, yeah, that's who I'm naming my boat after, Beth. I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes, and we sat there and he told me about John Paul Jones for 45 minutes. Let me tell you, I didn't know I needed to hear about John Paul Jones for 45 minutes, but I did. And I mean, just like, he just had anything he was talking about, he had so much passion for. And we used to tell people when they would come into the place, you know, oh, you know, if you haven't gone to a bread class at Enrico Biscotti, you really should do it. So I really hope a lot of you took our suggestions on that, because he has one of his employees doing it now, and I mean, she does a phenomenal job. But you're just never going to replace the storyteller that was Larry, and just the passion that he had for not only what he did, but just for all kinds of stuff. He loved pirates. He loved wine. He loved sailing. He loved his family more than anything, and just a huge loss for the whole city, not just, you know, his
everyone.
family and everybody, but yeah, it was so.
Well, he was full of shit in a good way, but he knew it.
Yeah.
And I mean, in an incident that we had, he was doing a bread class one day, and we had just made some limoncello, and I was bringing some to put down in his basement. And there's like 20 people in there, and he's talking to them, and I kind of did my Joe Pesci line on him. And I just interrupted him and said, hey, everything this guy said for the last 2.5 hours is bullshit. And he just loved it.
I know people that were in that class, and every time they came to the restaurant, they were like, yeah, your dad came into Larry's bread class, and they thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, just an awesome guy. So we're really going to miss him. But like we said, we'll continue to tell stories. And if you haven't watched the podcast or listened to it with him on it, do yourselves a favor. This isn't a plug for us. It's a plug for him. I mean, it was a really just cool to listen to. And he thankfully came out with a cookbook back in December. So it was really weird, because on the podcast he said, you know, if you don't tell people these recipes and tell people these stories, they go with you. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're very thankful to have the stories on the podcast. He's done a couple other things, you know, he did the WQLN.
He was on Daniel Tiger.
Yeah, I mean, he was just on all kinds of stuff. So do yourselves a favor. If you don't know him or didn't know him, and you can go back and see those things. He did some cooking videos during COVID, which are really cool to have now. There's always going to be times where I want to pick up my phone and ask him a question and call him, and I remember that I can't. But a lot of the answers are on those things, and you know, we did a good job picking his brain too. So
yeah,
we did.
We'll keep him with us. But anyway, we'll let Papa Joe get into the podcast, and we'll tell you who our guest over here is with the wrong shirt.
Okay, so anyway, as Beth said, this is Welcome to the Red Sauce Podcast with Papa Joe. I'm Papa Joe, obviously. I'm here with my daughter, Katie.
Hello.
She's now our La Capavinaya, our chief winemaker at Papa Joe's Wine Cellar, and she's also our authority on Italian language and culture. We also have Beth here. Beth, who doesn't work full-time with the winery anymore. We still press her into duty from time to time.
She abandoned us.
And she's a
That bitch.
financial consultant, but since she's a financial consultant, we've given her a new title. She's our consigliere.
Yeah.
And speaking of consiglieres, we have our Tom Hagen here. Matt's our son, Deb and my son, Deb's son actually, but mine too, and Katie and Beth's brother. Matt, his last name's Black, and the reason I called him Tom Hagen is because Italian families tend to have a son or a brother or something that don't have an Italian last name, Black, that are related nonetheless.
Well, no, he is related though.
Yeah, to some of you, but if not by blood, to the rest of us by time. And
Hey, I'm the only son that still makes grandma sauce. So
yeah,
True.
that's right.
You are.
True.
And we actually had 3 Tom Hagens, but so anyway, what we're going to do today is a phenomenon that I kind of attribute to what I always had called the Frank Sinatra gene. All Italians love Frank Sinatra, and it's inborn, but all Italians love mob movies too. And I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I kind of think along the lines that I love the mobsters minus the whacking. I could be a mobster if I didn't have to whack anybody. So anyway,
Do you not want that on?
No, he's trying to eat.
Oh,
I
didn't even see you hit that.
how do we want to start this? First of all, I'll start with a generalized theory of why I think Italians like mob movies. And as much as like if you look at The Godfather and you look at Sopranos and you look at Bronx Tale, and these are our favorites, and Goodfellas. These are guys that have been doing crime for a long time, so they're not underprivileged and they're not taken advantage of. But I think as Italians, in remembering, our parents and grandparents' stories about how they were treated, in the earlier part of the century, I think it's because we're kind of for the underdog. And even though they're by no means the underdog anymore, they're nasty son of a bitches, a lot of them. But I think that's how we kind of root for them, because they're working against the system that kind of screwed over some of our relatives and our ancestors.
Right. Well, I have a lot of theories on this, and a lot of mine were cultivated by my classes, with Italian history, Italian culture, and specifically I had, a class that was my favorite one that I took at Pitt that was Italian American portrayal in the media. And that class, taught by Lena and Santa, was the best class I ever took, because all we did was watch The Godfather, watch Goodfellas, watch Sopranos. That was the only time I ever had to watch a single episode of The Jersey Shore, and I hated it. But everything else was great. But I mean, it makes you think that's not the only, theme to these things. Like what the overwhelming themes of this, it's not just the criminality of it, but there are other themes like the family ties. That's a big
in The
one.
Godfather, that was the major part of the movie.
The family.
Yeah, the family more so than any of the crime and any of that kind of shit.
Because that is the thing that, okay, so Beth loves to tell me that I don't have a soul because I did not cry watching P.S. I Love You. Do you remember that? You and Ann told me.
Yeah, but go on with the mob movie.
Well, this is
Yeah, go ahead.
Godfather 3, everyone hates it. That's the only movie that really gets me, because I think while it is a terrible movie, it comes full circle because Michael loses his family in the end. He loses the one thing he was grasping for and trying to hold on to. He lost it all in the end. And that is really fucking heartbreaking.
Even though it was deservedly so, he lost.
Absolutely.
It all. I mean,
but that fucking hurts.
yeah.
But when you look at the family aspect of all those movies, all of them have the first generation that came over from Italy.
Yeah.
And then they have the subsequent generations after that and how they built the life here in America.
Absolutely.
And that's the commonality across all those movies. So when you take the mob part out of it and you just focus on the family and I don't think there's another culture where they have that representation in movies, talking about that first generation coming from the old country and then getting established for the next couple generations.
They really don't. No.
Yeah.
I can't think of another culture that really does have that. I mean, maybe
The Irish, if anybody.
the Irish and maybe a little bit like the movie The Namesake.
But I think it has a lot to do with timing as well, because you want to. What was the height of Italian immigration into the U.S.?
Probably 1920.
So,
Probably 1890 to 1920.
So
That was the major wave, yes.
so your generation has that living memory of
Yeah.
your grandparents being that first generation coming
Right.
in.
Right.
Where the Irish, a lot of them came in from the 17
came,
to the 1800s.
yeah,
So
earlier.
that timeline doesn't just match up with the movie industry. And I think that's where it really resonates is when you look at the timeline with everybody immigrating into the U.S., there's that common story across a lot of the Italian families because it was a mass immigration. And then the stories, you add all the other aspects to it to get whatever story you want, but you already have a formula that's pre-built, ready to go.
Absolutely. And then, you always have the other major theme in there, food. Which
Yeah,
is best
exactly.
favorite.
Of course.
On Sunday, like you said.
Exactly.
You have Clemenza showing Michael how to make the sauce. Mm-hmm. And what's it that they told they told the director that you can't say gangsters don't brown sausage, they fry sausage. Is that how they put it? There was something
Oh, I can't remember.
there was something in the notes, because I have the Godfather, like the movie notes. You got me the book, and they specifically told, like, Mario Puzo wanted to say it one way, and they wouldn't. They're like, no, you can't say it.
Yeah, and honestly, my problem is I haven't watched The Godfather 1, 2, and 3 in a row in a long time. So
It's been a long.
I know it's
time.
just it's hard to do it. I mean, it's I need to just set aside a whole day and just turn my phone off and just watch it. 'Cause
When you
I mean,
do it,
Can
let
I
me
come
know.
over?
Okay, yeah. Let's do it seriously.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I just for God, I don't know how long it was, 10, 15 years. Anytime Goodfellas was on, I watched it. I didn't because it was just like I don't know what else to watch. Just watch Goodfellas. So when I was about 15, 16 years old,
I'm already laughing about
I was
it.
at my grandparents' house, and it was Sunday, and we were eating dinner. Go figure.
Yep.
If you're listening to this, start doing Sunday dinners again, please. Let's not
We are.
lose this.
We will.
We are.
No, not you guys. I'm telling
I
these
know.
No, in
people.
general, yeah.
Don't
We
lose
are.
this. This is.
Yeah.
I mean, this is important.
Yeah.
But I said something to Katie about Goodfellas, and my grandma. She was always that, like, she didn't want to miss anything. She got a Facebook because I think it was Matt's kid actually. When his oldest son was young, I said, "Oh, did you see the picture of Isaac on Facebook?" And somebody was like, "Oh yeah, I saw it." And my grandma was like, "Wait a minute, what's this? What are you talking about?" She said, "Nobody emailed me that picture." And like the next time we saw her, she had a Facebook because she just couldn't stand missing stuff. But anyway, so we're talking about Goodfellas, and she goes, "Well, what's this movie?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Grandma. It's on AMC all the time, or like Lifetime or whatever." I'm like, it's always on. I was like, "You should watch it. It's a good movie."
Grandma was also the ultimate Italophile. Like, she loved everything about Italian
Yeah.
culture and all that. Yeah.
So the next time I talk to her, she calls me one day and she's "Oh, we're come over this day. We're gonna do this, whatever." And I'm like, "Okay." And she goes, "By the way, your grandfather and I watched Goodfellas. We got 5 minutes into it. How can you tell us to watch that movie?" And I'm like, "Well, where'd you watch it?" She goes, "Well, we rented it." I'm like, "Oh boy." I'm like,
Not censored.
Yeah, I was thinking there was no way she was gonna not just watch it on TV.
AMC, yeah.
Because that's what they did. I mean,
Yeah.
when we were kids, anything we wanted to watch, she'd get the VHS out, she'd record it for us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or you'd go to Blockbuster and rent it or whatever. So I didn't think she was gonna just watch it, like go and rent it. And I'm like, "Oh my God."
Well, before
She
Wolf
goes,
of Wall Street.
that movie's disgusting. Every third word out of their mouth, the F word. I'm like, "Ugh."
That's because before the Wolf of Wall Street, Martin Scorsese set the cinematic record for F-bombs dropped in that movie.
"Oh yeah, I believe that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Wolf of Wall Street, another Martin
Don't
Scorsese
worry
movie.
about that. You're in good company because back in the old days,
Oh, I know where you're going with
Blazing
this.
Saddles.
Yep, Blazing Saddles.
We watched Blazing Saddles. You know, went to the movie theater and saw it. We loved it.
Yeah.
And we told, I think Sam and I probably, maybe Mary Kay too, I'm not sure, but we told Grandma and Grandpa, your Grandma and Grandpa, that it was an awesome movie. This is the mid-'70s.
I mean, it
So
is
they
an awesome movie.
decided to go to the drive-in and take my Grandma and Grandpa with them.
Oh
And
God.
the four of
Oh,
them are
God.
sitting in a car watching Blazing Saddles.
Oh, my
I don't think
God.
they lasted very long either.
Shit.
Oh God.
So I guess she knows where I get it from.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
That
I
was-
forgot to make my picks.
That was like the-
Speaking of
really?
Italians and gambling,
Yeah.
shit.
Wait, was the deadline
No,
12
it's-
o'clock?
it's- it's college football. Fuck.
That means the games are starting.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we should
Yep.
get something on over there. That's all right. Anyway, sorry. Go on.
Okay.
The gambler in me got pissed off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, if we turn the TV on, you guys are going to stop talking at random times.
okay.
And go,
Well,
Yeah. No, we
so
won't do that.
wait, I wanted to bring up. You guys were talking about the underdog. So I think
Yeah.
A Bronx Tale. Have you seen A Bronx Tale? Okay, just
such a
checking.
great movie.
Should have asked you all these questions before we started.
No,
So I
it's
didn't
better
put
to
you
do
the
this on-
spot.
It's probably been about 10 years, but
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. But I think that's a really good example of you were talking about the underdog. In that one, like Robert De Niro is the underdog, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I mean, if you haven't seen it, like I'm not worried about spoilers because just like it's been out since 1990, so that's your fault.
That movie's as old as I am.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in that whole movie, like Calogero just sees this powerful mobster that's got money. He's got friends. Everybody seemingly likes him.
He's running the neighborhood.
Yeah. But there's a line in it when Robert De Niro says he would rather work hard and
As a bus
be
driver.
respected than be feared. And he's like, people don't love him, they fear him. And there's a big difference. And like the fact that throughout that whole movie, all Calogero wants to do is be like Sonny, but his dad's the one working his ass off. His dad's the one that he should respect more than that, you know?
And the amazing thing is that that whole movie is based on Chaz Palminteri's life.
Right. And like the scene that really like gets me is like when they go to that it's a boxing match, right?
Yeah.
And Sonny's down right behind the ring there. And he sends somebody up to get C and his dad. And then he's like, "Oh, Dad, we can go down and be right there." And he says,
won't do it.
"I paid for my ticket."
Yeah.
And he says, "But we can go sit, we can go be close." And he says, "I don't care." He says, "If you want to go sit down there, that's fine. But I paid for my ticket and I'm sitting here."
Yeah.
And he says, "If you want to go sit with him, well, that breaks my heart, but do what you want to do."
Yeah.
And like just that whole movie, I think it's like just a good example of like, you know,
Well, you know, actually, that character was in some ways like your Grandpa Frank.
yeah,
I mean, he was like that too, in that he wanted nothing to do with that kind of life, and he had every opportunity to do that.
yeah,
Yeah, because he had the Erie mobster.
Yeah, one of his
Friends.
best friends, when they were young, they were at some kind of a party or something like that, and he went to my dad and another friend of his. They were like three best friends, and he said, "Come on, we're going to go knock over a gas station." And my dad's, "I don't want any part of that shit," you know. And the other guy said the same thing too. And this guy went and knocked over a gas station. He became one of the most infamous mobsters in Erie over the years. But my dad always took a lot of pride in being, staying away from that stuff.
And they always respected Grandpa for it,
They
as
did.
we found out
They
later
did, yeah.
from Matt. I don't know if you ever heard about this. Tony was sitting at some old guy's bar, like in his mid-20s, and some guy asked him what his name was, and he asked him what his last name was, and he said, "Are you related to Frank?" He said, "Yeah, that's my grandpa." And he said he never wanted any part of what we did, but we always respected him. And Tony's like, "Holy shit, wow, that's cool." Yeah, Grandpa's a badass.
well, it's all about code and conviction at that point.
Yeah.
And if you stick by your guns, people have respect for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, what's your favorite mob movie or show? You can throw The Sopranos in here if you want. We're gonna get to The Sopranos, I promise.
I do like Goodfellas just because I like Ray Liotta,
Yeah.
like in his prime.
Did you
But
watch the Sopranos prequel,
I did.
Many Saints of Newark?
I did.
You did? Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean he was really good in that.
Yeah, that was good. But yeah, he was definitely in his prime in Goodfellas.
Oh, for sure.
And then Bronx Tale was definitely good because it was that whole different perspective.
Casino's freaking awesome.
Yeah, Casino's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I think doesn't get enough credit is Donnie Brasco. That movie's so good.
That movie
Have you
is
seen
so
that one?
good.
You've seen that one too? Yeah, that one's really good.
I introduced Grandma and Grandpa to that one because
Oh, did you get in trouble?
No, that one I didn't. Because Joe Pistone, the agent, he had family in Erie and spent some time with his family in Erie when he was a kid. And I had read the book before I watched the movie because, nerd. And I was telling Grandma and Grandpa about it, and they were like, "We want to see this movie." So yeah, they actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, that one's a really good one. I just watched it for
Yeah,
the
he
first
was-
time in 10 years, probably
He was
a
originally
couple
from
months
Erie.
ago.
Well, I know his family
Or
was.
did you just say that?
Yeah, I said it.
Now I don't know.
I just said his family was there, and he spent
No,
some
I
time
think-
there growing up.
No,
I don't know.
I think he was born in.
Was he
Erie.
born there?
He
Okay.
moved to New York or New Jersey, I think, early on in his life. But the other one that nobody knows too much about is what was the one? Kill the Irishman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Was that the one with Ray Ferrito?
Yep.
yeah.
What was the recent one that I?
That's The Irishman.
The Irishman. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ray Ferrito was an Erie guy.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt and I got a story about that.
Yeah.
Which one?
You remember when we went to the Mob Museum in Vegas, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder if Ray Ferrito is going to get mentioned." And we see this little tiny display that mentions the Cleveland Mob.
Yep.
And I see Ray Ferrito's name on it, and I start jumping up and down. I was so excited. I was like, "He made it! He made it!" And these people next to us, they go, "Is that a friend of yours?" I go, "That guy's from our hometown. My grandpa knew that guy." And these people are like, "What?"
It was funny. I played softball with a guy. I think it was his nephew, and he was the guy that painted Ray's car after the hit.
After the hit?
Yeah.
Oh my
He
God.
he never got charged with anything, but I think they subpoenaed him in to testify.
Gina's grandpa was telling us a story about was he a photographer or something? He said he was like taking pictures or something.
Gina's grandpa?
Yeah. I swear it was Gina's grandpa was saying something about him like taking pictures or something when he was walking out of the courthouse once or something, and he knew him or something. I don't know.
Is Gina's grandpa still around?
No, this was years ago. This was
Oh.
like when we were teenagers.
Okay.
He was
I
talking
thought
about
maybe
it.
you accidentally meant to say Vince.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Gina's grandpa like talking about this when we were like teenagers.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was Ray Ferrito that had, when Joe worked at Roth Cadillac.
Yep.
He stopped in to get his car fixed or something. Get something done, whatever. And
Did he have to get it repainted?
yeah, right. No, luckily Joe didn't do body work, or I guess paint work. Is that called body work? I'm not up on cars. Okay.
Yeah, but Rob did it.
Well, I know, but no. Joe told me that there's this Billy Joel live album that we love, and he said, "Oh yeah, I burned that CD off of Ray Ferrito's son."
You did say that, yeah.
I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, he sent his son in with his car or something, and he left it in the CD changer, and Joe got in and turned it on, and his Billy Joel album played, and that was back when you didn't have iTunes, you know. So Joe said he took it home, he burned it, and put it back in.
Well, Joe, if zombie Ray Ferrito comes back and whacks you,
Yeah.
best sorry.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I feel like he wanted to share the good music.
Okay, so I think getting into the movies and the Sopranos and all that kind of thing. I think the first and I think the underlying theme, besides family, is food, and I think it was quite fitting that, the Godfather started with a wedding where all the Italian food was there, and Marlon Brando or Don Corleone
Oh, okay. I was like, wait,
Was,
I thought we were thinking about
was holding court with a bunch of people, doing favors and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the food is a big thing, and Clemenza with his dancing with his pitcher, he's drinking the wine with the fruit in it, the pitcher.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you talked about him teaching Michael how to cook sauce. Mm-hmm. And you don't put sugar in sauce. I don't give a shit who you
Right.
are. You don't. But that's a different story. And the best one though was when Clemenza hit Paulie. Was his name Paulie? In the car. The guy.
When he whacked him and he said, leave the gun.
Yeah, leave the gun, take the
the
cannoli.
cannoli.
I mean, that's classic, huh?
That was in a restaurant.
No,
that
was
out on the street.
that was
out in a field.
Yeah,
The
Yeah,
toll
they.
booth. The toll booth?
No,
that was
no.
Sunny.
That was
This
Sunny.
This is when this is right after Don Corleone got shot, and the kid that was his driver called in sick
Paulie,
that day.
yeah.
Paulie was his name, and so they decided. Sonny said, "I don't want to ever see that kid again."
Mm-hmm.
So Clemenza and who else was it went there?
I don't remember.
But anyway, Clemenza said he had to take a leak, and he got out of the car. It was on one of those like one of those roads in Jersey that you can see the weeds and the
And the Statue of Liberty.
from.
Yeah.
And he went out and you hear the shot, and then Clemenza walks back very calmly and tells the other guy who was with him, I couldn't remember who it was, leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Yep.
I mean, they put their priorities where they belong.
Oh hell yeah.
Another thing that sticks out that's food related to me, I remember you telling me this when I was a kid. The scene where Don Corleone dies. He has the orange.
Oh, yeah.
And you said your grandpa used to do that.
Yeah, he make those cuts in the orange and make teeth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another, oh my God. I don't know if you remember this. First time I ever watched The Godfather with you, I was probably like 10. We had just moved into our house in Jackson Township, and we were still living in the basement at the time. And I remember, yeah, it was the first time I'd ever watched it, and it was the scene where Michael is on his, quote unquote, first date with Apollonia, and the whole damn family is at the table with them, and they're on opposite sides of the table. Dad goes, "Take a good look. That's going to be you someday." And I never forgot it. I was like, oh, shit. And I'm pretty convinced that's why I've only brought one guy home since.
I like the
And I would be the last person
I
to
know,
do that
but
to you. But
yeah, I'm more concerned about, Tony and Beth.
no. I like
than
the
anybody.
part where they're walking down the street and then it pans out and the whole
Yeah,
family's
the
The whole
following them.
family's following him, and
Yeah.
she pretends to trip just so she can so he can grab and hold her arm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of cool because there's like a lot of parallels. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
To the Sopranos and The Godfather, but also like I just a couple months ago rewatched Analyze This and Analyze That, and
Such a
you
great
remember the
movie.
dream that is it Billy Crystal has the dream that he's like Don Corleone when he gets shot.
Yeah.
And he's like, and the oranges are rolling everywhere. It's just like The Godfather. But like, I mean, there's the scene in The Sopranos when they try to shoot Tony, and same thing. I mean, he's outside. He's at a fruit stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that one was a dream, wasn't it?
I'm trying to remember.
That one was a dream.
Was that the dream, or was that when Junior tried to have him hit?
I think it was
That
a
it was.
dream.
I mean, he got the two black guys came to both sides of his right, and he somehow got.
Well, that's the
gun
one.
and
Yeah,
shot
he
the other
only, he
one.
only got shot in the ear that time,
Yeah,
didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was a dream.
Yeah,
He
I
got
think
shot.
I think the one that he actually got shot at the fruit
Yeah.
stand was a dream.
Yeah.
Just like Analyze This.
Okay.
But this is why, you know what? We should have. Never mind.
Should have watched the movies
We
first.
should have watched them all first, but we didn't have
All
time
of
to do
them.
that. Yeah.
All of them. Every mob movie to exist.
Anyway,
and and getting back to the food thing too, when Joe Pesci, when Tommy and
When his mother cooks for him.
yeah, when
Yeah.
they had a dead guy in the trunk who wasn't really dead yet,
right.
and they stopped at his mother's house to get a shovel, and she fed him a full meal.
And
You
she's
know-
talking about that painting.
Yeah.
Wait, this is my favorite fact about Martin Scorsese. His mother cooked.
That's his mother, yeah.
I know, but she cooked
Oh yeah.
before, they didn't get caterers. She cooked for
Yeah.
all the actors.
Really?
Yes.
Oh
For
yeah.
every movie?
At least for Goodfellas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they said that, I mean, she'd just show up and it was just like, oh yeah, here's time to eat.
I don't remember what documentary it was, but there was. I don't think it was My Voyage to Italy, which was his exploration into Italian neorealism film and stuff like that. But there was one where they interviewed his parents, and it was just awesome. Yeah, because My Voyage to Italy I saw when I was a teenager, because I got really into especially Martin Scorsese movies, because I have a Martin Scorsese collection at home somewhere. But that was really cool because it explained, post World War II neorealism films and what really got him into filmmaking that was awesome. But yeah, there are plenty of interviews with his mom out there. They're just great.
Yeah. So Matt, were these Goombas anything like the Goombas you grew up with?
I really didn't grow up with Goombas.
Huh?
You grew up with this one.
Oh yeah.
Me and Sam and Grandpa.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it was funny because
And my Uncle Sam.
the scene talking about meeting somebody's future partner reminds me when me and Carrie first met. So Carrie's stepmom's family's from Cuba, so a lot of similarities between Italians and immigration and stuff like that.
Don't tell the old Italians that. There's a lot of similarities with the Cubans, but
Well,
but
I'm
there
talking
is no. The cultures are very
yeah.
alike.
Well, it was funny because when I was flying back to meet her family, she's like, "Just fair warning, my family's loud." And they were even joking. Her uncles were even joking around, saying they're going to bring bats and stuff to the airport to meet me.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I get there, and I'm like, "This isn't very loud." And then was it a month later? She comes and meets our family. She's like, "Oh, never mind."
Oh, I get it. She met.
So wait,
we
are
met
the-
Tony and Dad.
Are the
and she's
Cubans
like,
not that loud?
Oh, they're loud.
Oh, they're
Just
loud. but
nothing
they're-
in comparison
I was
to
just
us?
already desensitized. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we were in what Grandma and Grandpa's little two bedroom ranch that they had expanded, and we were all sitting at tray tables at Christmas in the living room because there wasn't enough room for all of us.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know, I never took much of an interest in any of the black mob movies, but I'll bet you that the cultures are a lot.
have you
alike.
ever seen Do the Right Thing?
No, I'm gonna have.
You
to
need to
a
watch.
couple of
Okay,
them
so
because-
Do the Right Thing is actually
Yeah.
a Spike Lee movie that has Italian and black culture together.
yeah.
You need to watch that.
How about
Because,
Jungle Fever?
And you know,
Good one, too.
I've mentioned many times how I grew up in a very bigoted culture up in Erie, and over the years, I slowly evolved, and actually, I'll tell you what, I think that probably my final step in an evolution is when I met CJ in the GI lab. Because I talked to CJ, and we're so much alike, and our cultures are so much alike. The Italian culture is so much like the black culture.
Yeah, but give yourself credit because it wasn't. I mean,
No, I was very well.
you weren't 50 before you were.
No. But what I mean, I was very far along. But it takes a long time to get rid of these old unconscious biases
These stupid things that people put in your head.
that are put in your head from the time you're 2 years old. I mean,
Right.
and it's like it still comes back from time to time. And I'm saying recently, no, but I think that I shouldn't say that's what ended my evolution, but that gave me an appreciation of their culture and how much it's like ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we had a guy, one of the other anesthesiologists, was up in the GI lab with me one day, and the guy's a pain in the ass, but he's probably an Anglo, but he's like an Anglo highbrow.
Okay.
And he's bitching to me, saying, "You should say something about these people out there. They make so much noise." And it's like,
Oh.
Oh my God.
I told him, I said, "I'm not going to say a word." I said, "That does not bother me at all." I should have told him that I was most likely the one that started them on that because I was. I mean, I was always giving them a hard time, giving CJ and Marcus a hard time, and Jose, who was a Puerto Rican. I was always giving them a hard time because we were all loud. And
You were essentially their ringleader, Dad.
I know.
You started all the bullshit.
Yeah, I think I did. But it was fun.
I had something to say. I don't remember what it was. This happens to me a lot.
But yeah, but I mean, I think what I was saying is that my evolution was pretty complete. But CJ was probably my first close friend that was a black guy.
I can see that.
I mean, I've had friends,
Yeah.
but he was my first really close friend that was a black guy.
I get it. Yeah.
So I think I obviously could spend 3 episodes of the podcast episodes
Just talking about The Sopranos.
just talking about The Sopranos, but we won't.
What is the best episode ever?
Pine Barrens,
Damn right.
no doubt. But it's funny because Matt and I will just be texting each other and he'll say something about Karen Ziti.
I still can't eat Karen Ziti.
See? But he'll text me and be like, "Oh yeah, we're having baked macaroni today. I can't eat Karen Ziti though." Like just like shit like that. But
Yeah, but Justin Abbai's ZD. That's okay.
yeah.
That stuff's pretty damn good.
Do you have the Sopranos cookbook too?
No, I don't.
No, because there's a page on there
There's
in
yeah.
there on Karen Ziti. Actually,
I don't need it. I got grandma's sauce recipe right here. What else
yeah,
do
that's
want?
all you
Oh,
need.
You did say you're the only brother that makes it. Tony learned.
You know what
did he
he
Yeah.
does need, though?
Zach taught him.
He needs Larry's book.
I think
Yeah.
Mom got them all for Christmas.
Did you get one?
Things don't make it to me for Christmas. They usually make it to me like 3 Christmases later.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll,
Did
we'll
she
find
give
it,
one
but
to everybody?
she did. She did.
So Carrie's
you
got one.
you
Yeah.
have one somewhere.
Okay.
The ricotta pie is just incredible, and actually all his stuff is incredible.
I was trying to see if it was up
I don't
there.
have it up here. I don't think I ever took one.
No,
Oh.
I took one for you, but I don't know where it went.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
But anyway, that's
But
what
okay,
we're talking about is Enrico Larry O, whatever you want
His
to call him.
There you
black
go.
book, the cookbook.
It's called his Black Book, and it's. I mean, you can get it. You
You can get it from Enrico Biscotti.
Yeah.
And on their website, but we had them at the restaurant for a while, and
we-
we'll
and
have
we
them
will,
again.
And,
yeah,
And actually, the Little Green Bookstore is probably going to have some at
as
some point
soon
in
as we
time
can.
soon,
Yeah, we're working on it.
so you were saying the thing about not putting sugar in sauce.
Yeah.
So I sent it to you on Instagram a couple weeks ago, but there's you know the scene where in The Sopranos where Ralphie's teaching Jackie Jr. how to make spaghetti, and he's like, okay, so you cook it and then you strain it or
Standing
whatever.
there in his wife beater.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
so he's like, all right, and then he goes, you leave the flame on and you put a little bit of sauce in the bottom, and then you put the spaghetti back in, and then you cook it a little bit so it soaks in instead of just coats it, and then he throws a chunk of butter in. And then there's this lady. It's like it's a meme, right? So it's the clip, and then this lady interrupts, and she's like, Ralphie must have been from the fucking north. You don't put butter
right.
in sauce. And
I mean,
sent
Joey
it to-
Pants was blonde.
I sent it
so-
to everybody I know.
You
I was
didn't
like,
send it to me.
well,
What the fuck?
I guess I don't really know you.
For some reason, I always thought it was you don't put garlic in sauce.
Well, we don't.
Well,
When he was teaching them, and I got that from you. Because,
Yeah.
Because forever that scene was always you don't put garlic in sauce in my head. I don't.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's the way
well,
that
if
scene
you don't
should
know,
be.
if you can't respect garlic and use it properly, yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, we, I think it might have got cut out because we did it the other day and it didn't make the cut. But we were saying how if you use garlic properly, it's good. But so many people just want to freaking throw it in there like
Handful.
it's supposed to be an accenting thing.
A spice, not a main ingredient.
Well, most
Right.
people also burn it with the onions. And
Right,
True.
correct.
Yeah.
It makes it taste.
Awful.
But that's like
Well,
a
you know,
scene
and I
in
think that's
Goodfellas
what-
also.
And you know, I read this too. I mean, it's just not that I think it. I've read it. But I think that's where the sugar in the sauce comes from. You know, they say that some of the Italian Americans started throwing garlic in the tomato sauce because they couldn't get good tomatoes in this country back in the 20s and 30s.
Right.
But then when they put the garlic in, they had to use the sugar to kind of break the pungency of the garlic.
Right.
And I think that's why
I've
they
also
did it,
heard
but-
like the acidity too.
yeah,
but I've also
the
heard-
acidity too. But
I've also heard if you want to like this to me is ridiculous, but if you want to sweeten sauce without adding sugar, you put carrots in your
yeah,
fucking sauce.
people do that.
Yeah.
But
Giada
again-
De Laurentiis does it.
Get your hold of some fucking good Roma tomatoes.
Right, yeah.
And
you
even
you
if-
get the good
Even
good
if you don't can them yourself, even if you get the really good stuff, the
like San Marzano's or
Sam,
whatever. Yeah.
you know the what
Good
did we
Roma.
use? Well, I mean, we used
We used Conti crushed.
Conti, which comes from Stanislaus in
Mm-hmm.
California. They have 4 or 5 different brands that are very good.
No, it doesn't come from Stanislaus.
Conti does. Oh no, Conti is
Vermono's. owns it.
Romano's, but yeah, Stanislaus has other stuff that.
That's who we use
That's-
the tomato paste from.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they have one Tomato Magic. As weird as that sounds, it's good stuff. You know.
Basically, what you
Magic
need,
CK, right?
just get
Yeah.
either get whole tomatoes, like in the can, and just grind them yourself, or we just use crushed tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just get the ones that don't have a ton of shit in them.
Yeah.
Basically,
Citric
it's
acid.
salt, and most of them put a leaf of basil in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always find the ones that have no other added ingredients.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
And
it.
I've even made it from the Hunt's canned tomatoes, and it comes out fine. It's more on the meat that and the preparation.
Yeah.
than anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
The good chuck roast and yeah. Yep.
I mean,
and the
Hunt's-
good olive oil.
Hunt's
Don't
makes a
don't
good
start
tomato,
telling
there's
them
no doubt
everything
about
that's
it.
in it.
I'm
No
not
doubt
telling them
about it.
everything. I'm
I
just
didn't
saying.
mean you in general. I meant everybody. Oh, I
Don't make me fight you. I am ready to throw hands today.
Come on.
So
let's
we
go.
probably should, before we leave, get into the comedy of all this stuff too. Of the, especially The Sopranos.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people watch that as a drama.
Well, that is why the the Pine Barrens episode is why it's so fucking good, is because it is fucking hilarious.
But you know, people that don't know a lot of the stereotype Italians like we know don't quite get that. But these people are fucking hilarious. I mean,
Oh my God.
you know?
The best thing is when Italians start fighting, they start mocking
Yeah.
each other.
And my dad and my Uncle Sam were naturally as funny as any people alive without even trying.
I'll never forget. There was an argument that Grandma and Grandpa had when I was in high school. I brought one of my friends up to Erie for Sunday dinner. And there was that lot across the street from them that was open for years that we always played in.
Yeah.
And then somebody bought it when we were in high school and put a house in it. Grandma and Grandpa are arguing about how fast the siding went on this house. And Grandma swore it was like 15 minutes. And Grandpa goes, "You sitting there with a timer, Ida?" And they're like, they're mocking each other while they're arguing. And my friend's sitting there like, just staring like, are they arguing? I'm like, yeah, this is normal. And I'm sitting there laughing my ass off.
Well, that was the hello going in the door. As you walk in the door, everybody's getting made fun of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
That's a
my
good
God.
point.
Yeah. Oh my God. You were roasted constantly in that house, and it was hilarious.
So did you ever meet Grandpa Tellerico?
No.
Okay. How old was?
You know
He
what?
died in
You-
87.
you
You
may
probably
have met him,
did,
but you
but you
don't
wouldn't have
remember?
remembered. Yeah.
Because we were in Philadelphia when he died.
Okay.
My grandmother died before we knew you.
That was
But-
84.
But I'm sure that you'd been at his house. But again, you were, 5 years old at the time. You're not going to remember stuff like that a lot of times.
No.
You know, when you remember things that stand out when you're 5, but you don't remember routine shit when you're 5.
I have like one memory from being 3, and then everything else is from way
And
later.
my grandfather was such a quiet guy around the family. He never really said much. He just used to laugh at my Uncle Sam and my dad because they were funny enough for everybody.
They
Did
were
we,
the best.
Did we tell the Uncle Al story on here yet?
No, go ahead.
No, you have to tell it. I wasn't there.
So anyway,
I never met Grandpa
So anyway.
Tellerico.
I have an Uncle Al, or had an Uncle Al, and he liked his alcohol a little bit, to say the least. I don't know that I had ever seen him sober from the day that I can first remember until the day he died, because he just drank all the time.
Grandpa wasn't his biggest fan.
And no, him and Uncle Sam really didn't like Uncle Al that much. And they used to give him a really hard time. But anyway, it was, I think, a party for my sister or something like that we're having at the house. And we had a wine bottle like this. And my Uncle Al didn't really have a preference as long as it had alcohol in it. He'd drink anything. So my grandfather and my father are in the kitchen, and my dad says to Grandpa, he says, "Watch this." And he starts putting shit in this wine bottle. I mean, he put wine in it, he put beer in it, he put coffee in it. Pop, he put everything in it. He said, "Al will drink that." So next thing you know, Uncle Al walks up, pours a glass full of this shit, and just starts, and my grandfather almost fell off the chair laughing. They never told him. He drank the whole bottle.
I thought you were going to tell the meatball story.
No, that was the one I wanted him to tell, was the alcohol story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, we're good.
Okay. Meatball story for another day.
No, we could tell all kinds of stories about Uncle Al,
Yeah.
but I just remember when he died, Grandpa comes up to me and goes, "Oh yeah, my poor brother-in-law. I heard they had his memorial service at the Budweiser Museum."
Beth and I were sitting at the table just laughing, and Grandma's like, "Oh God, Frank, that's not very nice." But she's trying not to laugh too.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so damn funny.
But I remember he used to, when they would come into town, Aunt Yo would drive and he would ride in the back seat
She was
and
like
drink.
85.
He sat in the back seat and drank.
Yeah.
Because
She was like
apparently
85
the
and-
open container law didn't apply to the back seat.
No, but she was a tiny little woman, and
know.
she's driving his ass while he's in the back seat.
It was a
drinking.
big
Oh my God.
Cadillac.
Yeah, it was one of those damn boats.
It was one of the the Fleetwoods or something.
Oh my
Sedan
God.
built one of the big ass boats.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that was the funniest freaking thing in the world. Oh my God.
It's just so funny to watch as my dad gets older, the things that he does that are so similar to Grandpa Frank. Just like dumb little things that I'm just like, oh my God, it just blows my mind.
That you should have been at Easter at Uncle Sam's house when they were talking. It was him, Aunt Mary Kay, Uncle Sam, and their cousin Michelle just talking about
Buzz.
Buzz talking
Yeah.
about all of these all of these memories
Yeah.
they had about all this stuff, and like you were talking about, who was it that was it Aunt Mary's husband that
The gambled?
yeah,
Yeah, Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank,
Yeah,
yeah.
her second husband, Uncle Frank.
I remember
gambler,
Uncle
yeah.
Frank.
I remember
Yeah.
Uncle Frank too, but I don't remember like this like happening. Like,
Do you remember him? You remember him bringing coupons from Super Duper all the time?
I do.
yeah,
You know what my grandma called him? I don't think I ever told you this. There was a store up in Erie that was like, it was like an Ollie's or something like that, but it was called the Bargain Barn, and they had this mascot, Bargain Barney, and my grandma Tellerico used to call my Uncle Frank Bargain Barney because he's always coming 25 cents off Italian bread at Super Duper, you know.
Oh my God. Was the bread any good?
Yeah, it was actually pretty
Oh,
good.
was it?
Yeah. My grandfather didn't like it as much because he used to talk about Italian bread and Super Duper bread.
like the way you talk about
Yeah.
Wonder Bread.
Yeah, but the Super Duper bread was okay. It wasn't the best. I mean, it wasn't
It wasn't Wonder Bread.
it wasn't
better
the-
than that.
No, it was not Wonder Bread. You know what it was like? It was a lot like the Breadworks bleached flour regular Italian bread.
Okay.
Okay, so a little soft.
That we get sliced up so that
Yeah.
we can freeze it. It's not as good as real Italian bread, but
It's not.
It's good bread.
It's not Larry's.
Okay, wait.
rustic
This leads me to a really good question for our guest star, Matthew. Do you guys have any good Italian bread in Missouri?
I make it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Damn
Good
right you
answer.
do.
Because I went to visit a couple friends of ours in Denver a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I was
I saw
driving.
those same friends in July.
Well, I was driving and they were like, he's Italian. He's from New York. He's from Rye, New York. So, they grew up going down to the city for dinner and, going to the Bronx to get their bakery stuff. And he goes, hey, do you think we can have a couple of our friends over and you and me can cook? I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's do it. And he's like, I'm going to need you to go to Penn Mac for me before you come out. He goes, there is nothing out here. And it's funny because
Did they take you to somewhere though? Italian place?
no, he said that it's really
Where did they take you though when you went out there? Because they said they took you to some restaurant. Because they wouldn't take me to the same place they took you.
I can't
they
remember.
Took me,
I'll
they
have to
took me
think
to
about
a,
it.
Well, they
No.
took me to a Mexican place
No,
because
I'm
they
not.
couldn't take you to the
I'm
same
not talking
place.
about restaurants. I'm talking
okay.
about being able to get
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ingredients to make good food.
Well, I know, but they wouldn't take me to the same restaurant because they didn't want to. They didn't want
Okay.
to assume that they could take two sisters to the same place.
Okay, but anyway, yeah, it was just like there's just I can't remember what the hell I was listening to recently, but they were saying how. And unless you're on the East Coast, there's really, even if you're out in San Francisco and stuff, there's really not great places to get good ingredients like this.
You took
So
Matt Romano cheese through TSA.
Yes, I did.
yeah, so Romano cheese is the hardest thing to find.
Okay.
And I end up just getting the cheap generic Kraft Romano cheese or whatever it is. And so if anything's lacking in the sauce, it's probably the cheese.
Jesus Christ, we'll send you some.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm driving out there in 2
Yeah.
weeks. So.
Like Carrie went to the local food store the other day when I made a pot of sauce and she could not find Romano cheese and I had to go of Walmart of all places to get it.
Yeah.
And it's just it's not the same. It's okay, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
And then bread, I don't even waste my time looking for bread.
No, I don't blame
So
you.
Whenever I make a big pot of sauce, I make a couple loaves of bread, and I always invite people over because I make more. And if there's one deviation from Grandma's recipe, is I add twice as much chuck roast, so there's more meat to pull out and eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Because everybody just wants to scoop out the meat and
Yeah.
eat it on top.
Which makes the sauce even better because that was the difference between Grandma's sauce and everybody else's till Beth.
Yeah.
Is that none of us put enough meat in it, and the taste was all there. The taste was good, but we didn't have enough of the meat grease. And the
Well, and
flavor
that
from
was the
meat.
thing we realized too was, when we were making it for home, we weren't
Yeah.
putting enough meatballs in it.
Yeah,
So I'm
that greasiness.
inadvertently making it right.
You are.
Yeah,
You are.
exactly.
and the meatballs. I mean, if you throw the meatballs in raw, the sauce does extract more flavor from that too. And that was the difference because I used to fry my meatballs,
No.
and it made a good meatball, but the sauce wasn't quite as good.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you gave me the recipe years ago, and I started making it, I think you told me to put 2 pounds of beef in, and now I put like 4 or 5 in
Yeah.
at a time.
So, you said you cook the meatballs before you throw them in?
Yeah.
Do you cook them on a baking sheet?
I just baked them because it's easy.
Right, on a baking sheet?
Yeah.
Then what do you do with the grease?
There's really not much grease. I just dump everything into the
Okay,
sauce.
good. That was the answer I was looking for. Just making sure.
So we would freeze them.
Actually, that's the thing about baking them is I think all the grease stays inside the meatball because of all the
Well, that's fine. I just don't want you to just get rid of it.
no.
Well, we would freeze them and then throw them in frozen.
No, the other day I was cutting up pork chops and the kids don't like the fat trimmings and I'm sitting there eating all the fat trimmings and
Okay, Grandpa Frank.
Yeah, you texted me.
yeah.
It's tasty. It
is.
really is good.
Yeah, Grandpa Frank used to wait until we were all done eating, and then he'd, oh, are you gonna eat that? And
Can I
it would be
have
like a chunk of.
He'd take the fat and he'd eat off the bone too.
Oh yeah.
Which I eat off
Hey, you
the
know
bone.
what? He lived to be 86 years old, so
Well, it's genetics. I mean, that's
maybe
just the
we
way
should
it is.
rip a page out of that book.
The same reason he liked mob movies is the reason he lived to be 86, eating shit.
Did Grandpa like mob movies?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
He didn't like
know what?
Goodfellas.
No, I don't. He didn't like the language. I mean,
No, it was.
Yeah, I know.
I think that
I think they were more offended that their 16-year-old
Yeah.
granddaughter told them to watch
Well,
a
that was
movie.
really it. That was really it because when Grandpa died, we found those things he used to stick on people's cars
Yeah,
that said it was like Mickey Mouse was with his middle finger up.
yeah,
That said, "I hope you don't fuck like you park."
yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, and you know what? Because I worked for him at the hospital, and I saw a little bit of it, but he was always toned down when he was around me.
Exactly.
He never let himself loose.
Meanwhile, we see the real Papa Joe.
Yeah, and then
There's no filter there.
in his older days, he opened up a little bit more, but he still didn't think people should be saying fuck in public, and he didn't like the fact that
He didn't
these
even.
mobsters were using all this language. He didn't think that was, first of all, he didn't think it was accurate, because you know what, in his generation that was accurate. They did not talk like that.
True.
It would have been my generation and younger.
So
I
Ray
mean-
Liotta and younger.
Yeah, I mean, so you could see Tony and Pussy and all those guys using that kind of language. Generally, and Junior Soprano did, but generally, people that were in his generation would not talk like that in public.
I'm just laughing because I was thinking of the scene in early in The Sopranos when Anthony Jr.'s teacher's car gets stolen, and then they bring it back, and he's like, "Yeah, my Uncle Pussy has a body shop," and the teacher goes, "Your Uncle Pussy?" Yeah, but no, I get it because like
I think the
Yeah.
one thing Grandpa had in common with Tony Soprano is I did see him faint once when he was making a cup of cold sandwich.
oh yeah,
And
No, you didn't.
no, I'm kidding. Notice I didn't say gabagool because that's not how.
that's Jersey.
That's probably Jersey, and it might even be Napoli. I'm betting it's Jersey though. We always said cup of coal without the
Cup of
A
coal,
at the
yeah.
end because the Calabrese dialect used to drop a lot of the
dropped the
last
vowel.
vowel in a lot of things. And speaking of Larry hated that.
Oh, Larry used
Oh,
to
he
yell
used
at
to
me
yell at us,
all
yeah.
the time.
For dropping
Well,
the vowel?
Yeah.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Larry was
He goes, you don't say spaghetti, do you?
Larry
Actually,
was
my dad used to sometimes.
Larry.
That's what the kids say. I want some spaghetti for dinner.
Spaghetti.
Yeah.
Larry learned traditional, like grammatical Italian. And so when he knew I was studying grammatical Italian at Pitt, anytime I said anything that was not correct Italian, he used to yell at me. He's like, "Katie, that is not correct. That is uneducated. Don't do that." And he also used to yell at me all the time for when I was speaking to somebody in English that he knew they spoke Italian and he knew that I knew they spoke Italian and I wasn't using my language. He would yell at me for that. He's like, "Damn it, Katie." He would yell at me in Italian because he knew I could understand him. He's like, "Speak Italian because you both speak Italian. This is a good opportunity to use your language skills." And he used to yell at me all the time.
Wait, to use it to yell at people?
No, he would yell at me.
Oh,
in
I thought he
Italian.
was telling you to yell at people.
No, he actually.
Oh, we did.
He actually said on the podcast he did with us. He said, "If we're going to speak Italian, let's speak Italian, okay?"
Yeah.
Let's okay. I think we should get
Wrap it up.
wrapping up because we have to get ready to go to the game.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to say anything, but we're going to the backyard brawl.
Yeah, we are.
Fuck it up.
Well, we have to be careful because
I just said fuck it up. I didn't say anything.
sometimes things don't age well.
Hey, you mentioned low class earlier, so we got to see the lowest of low.
But you know, the one thing from the Godfather movie that I have to make, I love this line in the Godfather movie for a very good reason, because it's fucking true. When Kay was talking to Michael, and Michael's making excuses for his dad, and he says, my dad's like any important man. And Kay said, but important men don't kill people. And
Senators and presidents don't
Yeah.
have people killed.
yeah,
Bullshit.
And Michael just looks at her and says, Kay, now who's being naive?
Yeah.
And that's true. And that's actually why one of the reasons why we like the mob movies is because
It's real.
these old establishment assholes that run the country, and they own everything, and they just give us crumbs, even though people like me have gotten a lot of crumbs, and people like Tony Soprano have gotten a lot of crumbs. But I mean, that's all
You
they
made
would,
something from
that's
it.
all they would give us. And actually, I'm old enough to remember some of that. I mean, it wasn't as bad as my dad or my grandfather, but I'm old enough to remember some of that. And I think that really summed up why we like those movies, is because we like a guy that's fighting those bastards.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're anti-establishment. Yeah.
And when he was in front of Congress, I mean, that was typical. And the senator from Nevada,
Yeah.
that basically that actually came
Was
out
that
and said,
the
I don't like
only-
you. I don't like you people. You
Was that the only mention of the only time they mentioned the word mafia in it? Because I know in the first
It
movie
might be.
they don't say the word mafia because the Italians didn't want them to.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to say this before I forget, but you were talking about how people talk and which generations and everything. I know we've said this 1,000 times, but we need to get Carlo to be a guest on here because
Yes.
he's from Naples.
Yeah.
Anna's dad is from Naples. So he came over we say on the boat, but he came over on the plane when he was 4, I think. But I mean, he speaks fluent because his mother came over with him. His parents came over with him. I think one of his sisters
Mi
came.
amici.
Yeah, I think one of his sisters came, but I think one stayed because they just went a couple years ago and met everybody or whatever. But like, I feel like he's a really good one to have because he's got a little bit of both cultures because he brought. I mean, his parents came with him, so he understands that side of it, and people that grew up in Italy and that were submerged into our culture, but also now he's got his
He's got American.
He's got his own
daughters.
groove, right?
Yeah.
and
Well, if he comes on, are we going to tell him he has to answer for Sonny?
I mean, you could, but here's a little fun fact about Carlo. A couple years ago, I went over to their house for a bonfire, and he was like, "Hey, Beth, I'm going to make you a hot dog." It was after work. It was like midnight, probably. Me and Anna both went after work. And he's like, "Beth, you want a hot dog?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I ate at work." Meanwhile, I'm thinking in the back of my head, there's no way this is a Smith's hot dog. Smith's hot dogs are the only hot dogs we'll eat. They're from Erie, whatever.
Meanwhile, I haven't eaten a hot dog since
Neither here nor there.
1997, but
That is the only hot dog I will eat. So he kept saying, "Oh, I'm going to make you a hot dog." Just being an Italian guy, making sure I eat dinner.
right.
And I kept saying, "No, I'm good. I'm good." And finally his wife, Tracy, goes, "Hey, Carlo, maybe she doesn't like hot dogs. Did you ever think of that?"
Oh my God, Ida.
And I go, "Actually, Tracy, I only eat Smith's hot dogs." And I go, "What kind are those?" And I was like, now that we're here, let's just have the conversation. So he goes, "They're Nathan's." And I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Sorry." I was like, "It's not you, it's Nathan." So about 3 months ago, I go over to their house for a bonfire, and he goes, "Beth, you want a hot dog?" And I'm like, "No, we're not doing this again." And he goes, "No, we are." He goes, "I bought Smith's just to try him." And he goes, "Now I won't eat any other hot dog." I'm like, "Yes."
It's Ida.
Yep.
So Tracy was like, "Yeah, he bought them just to see what they were about." And he looked at me and goes, "Oh, these are so much better."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's just it. That's the only hot dog
But
I will eat."
it's legitimately like grandma every time though, like when we would say like, "Oh my God, grandma," the one time she had Hunt's ketchup and you're like, "Grandma, I can't eat this."
Yep.
When we were kids. And she's like, "Why?" We go, "Grandma, we can't eat Hunt's ketchup. We're from Pittsburgh now." And the next time we went up there, she goes, "You know what I have? I bought you Heinz ketchup."
Yep.
And that's just
But what
hilarious.
were you eating?
Huh?
What were you eating when she said she had Heinz?
I don't know.
She put
Pasta fagioli.
Were we?
We just talked about this last night. I told Matt, and I was like, it was like not even relevant to what we were eating, but she just wanted us to know that she went out
But
and bought it.
every single time though, like every time like you mention, oh grandma, I like this particular kind of chip, like in passing, the next time you went to her house, oh, you know what I have? You know what I bought for you? Yeah. That was grandma.
Yep.
Knowing grandma, though, she probably got that Heinz bottle from somebody that she knew and put Aldi ketchup in it. She would do that.
She was the queen of Aldi.
Yep, she would do that.
What else, Matt? What do you got for us?
Nothing. I got a football game to watch.
Oh yeah, I know. We got a big one to watch tonight.
What time's your game on?
They're on right now. They're up 6-0 now.
Yeah.
They gotta get in the end zone.
Who
Come
are they
on,
playing?
Matt. Illinois. It's on the road though.
Well, I guess we can sign off.
All right.
Salute,
Let-
Lario.
Tulerio.
Wait,
Valerio?
There you go.
Yeah,
Put a
I need a
little
little
in there
too.
for you. Oh,
Nice one.
that was Matt's fault.
That's okay.
It's a good thing we put this tablecloth up.
Yeah,
Yep.
baby. Yeah.
Why we got the tablecloth? Cheers.
Tulerio.
Lario.
Matt, thanks for
Tulerio.
coming on.
Yeah.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail the pit.